want to hear this. Hi, everybody. My name's Sandy. I'm an alcoholic. I am touched to be here. This is a lot different than it was the first time I spoke down here. I mean, there was like this many people, maybe. I'm grateful to be asked back. I don't know why I'm starting off crying. Usually I cry in the middle of my talk, but now I'm getting it done and over with, I guess. I appreciate what Marianne said about the concepts and stuff, because this month has been kind of hard for me because I've been gone away from my home group a lot. I've been working a lot. I've had an opportunity to speak out of town and had a chance to come down here, so I hadn't actually participated in my home group like all month. And then Marianne talked about being a participant and all that, and I'm going, crap, I hadn't done that. And maybe it's lost or something, I don't know, but I'm glad to be here with y'all tonight. I was talking to my husband on the way down. I said, I hadn't been to a meeting all month. He said, well, you went and spoke. I said, that's not like a meeting. I like to listen to other people. So, Marianne, thank you for that. I also want to thank the group for an awesome dinner. If there was some well, here's the deal. I have been trying to get my husband to eat at this particular restaurant in town for like 4 times. And every time we come down here, it's late when the meeting's over and it's closed. So I asked Jennifer, I said, do you think we could eat at Jasmine's? She said, sure. And then I didn't know that flyers had been sent out and all that other kind of stuff. And so if anybody's got a resentment, see me after the meeting and I'll make amends. Because that change was made at my request, and I am so grateful for that. And it's good to see some friends here. Some people I hadn't seen in a long time, and y'all just touch my heart. I'll get started in a minute, maybe. I didn't come to AA to get sober. I wound up in jail, and then some guy I was drinking with said, I know how to get you out of trouble, and he signed me up for treatment. Now, I'd never heard of treatment, so I didn't know where I was going, and, I didn't know you could go to treatment drunk. I didn't know you could go to treatment all screwed up. So, I'm sitting out on the front steps when they picked me up that morning. Like I'm ready to go to my first day at school. I got my little suitcase packed. I got my clothes ironed and pressed, and I'm just sitting out there smoking a cigarette waiting on the bus. I don't know where I was living. I think it was under a rock, but here I go off to treatment, and in that treatment center I found out that I had some problems, and I didn't realize that I had the problems that I had. I thought that I didn't know that my drinking was problematic. I knew I'd gotten a lot of trouble behind my drinking. I'd wind up in strange places with strange people and all that kind of stuff. But didn't everybody? Everybody I drank with did, and if you were going to have a beer, I didn't see the point, all that kind of stuff. So here I am in treatment, and I'm trying to get my job back, and that's the only reason I went to that facility. I didn't go to get sober. I didn't go to get straight. I went to keep my job, because at that particular time in my life, my job was totally who I was. And I took a lot of pride in that. My oldest brother tried to get on to work at this particular place, and he got turned down, and I got it, so I'm going, yay me. And I'm losing that, and it's the first time I'd ever had any money to speak of in my life, and I just knew that if I had enough money, I would be all right. And here I've got this good job, and I can't even pay the rent. They're repossessing vehicles that I have because I'm doing other things with my money. And I'm drinking and I'm partying, and people don't hang out with me because I drink and I party. And, my claim to fame was I could drink some of those men under the table. I remember getting off work and just setting the suitcase down and going straight to the bar. And that's when I picked my suitcase up when I got called to go back to work. Isn't that what everybody did? That's what everybody that I hung out with did. And so here I am in this treatment center getting to review my life. And there's a lady coming in the room. I know that she was probably a nurse. And she asked me, she's got to fill out some papers. And I'm not confessing to anything because I'm looking at going to prison because I got arrested. And this was back before getting busted was fashionable and all that kind of stuff. So I was looking at doing some serious time. I was arrested with 2 counts of possession with intent to distribute and illegal possession of a firearm and all this kind of stuff. And I wasn't going to tell them that I wasn't sharing or I wasn't selling. This is my personal stash that they got. But they didn't seem to need that information. So, I mean, I'm looking at going to prison, and here I am in this treatment center because this is the way I can get my job back and it'll look good before the judge. And this lady comes in and she says, Sandy, you don't ever have to feel the way you feel inside ever again unless you choose to. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've been feeling like crap most of my life. You know, I remember always wanting to be somewhere else, in somebody else's body, in somebody else's household. You know, always just that restless, irritable, and discontent. You know, the big book talks about it. But I didn't know that's what it was. I just thought I was crazy. You know, Mama told me I was sorry like my daddy, and, you know, I bought into that. And I know that when I started drinking, some of that went away. And when I started drinking, I felt like you looked. You know, because I come out of the chute 6 foot tall, I think. You know, and I mean, when you're 50 and you're tall, it's nice. I mean, it's nice today, but when you're 8, 9, and 10, I mean, it sucks because you're always the last one in line, and you know, everybody's winking and blinking at the pretty little short girls, and I'm just wanting to squish them. You know, I hate them. You know, because they got all the weight in girl places, and I'm just like a beanstalk, and the only weight I got is in my feet, and they look like skis, and you know, people are laughing at you, and I hated it. I hated it. You know, and when I took that first drink, I was 13 and I slipped out of a ball game with some boys, and we went out back and we started drinking Pat's Blue Ribbon beer. And I'm going to tell you, that night I felt the magic happen in my life. I mean, it put me 40 pounds, 20 went here and 20 went here, and it curved me a waist that I didn't know I had, and my tongue laid down and I could talk to the boys, and I felt inside like you looked outside for the first time ever in my life. You know, and I pursued that feeling until I just run it in the ground. I mean, if a little is good, more is more, right? And I started, you know, I got this good job and I started making decent money, so I started switching around the things that would make me feel good, and, you know, and I lost everything I had, you know, doing dope. And dope is a part of my deal, you know, and I think it brought me to my bottom quicker because I'd done a lot of things, behind that, you know, and I know today I've done a lot of that trying to control my drinking, because I'd start drinking and I'd black out, and then I'd wake up with strange people in strange cities, you know, and then I'm not drinking that much no more. So then I started smoking a little weed and then drinking just a little bit, you know, but anyway, all that wound me up in this treatment center, and this lady told me I didn't have to feel the way I felt inside. And I'm going to tell you, you know, I didn't believe her. You know, because I'd been in all the churches. I'd done a lot of the things that I seen normal people do, trying to get right or get better or whatever you want to call it. I mean, down south they call it getting saved. And I tried to be saved a lot. I mean, some men had tried to save me, and I tried to let them, and that didn't work either. You know, I tried a lot of different things trying to get that, just to feel okay inside, you know, and it seems like I would see you do it and it would work for you, and then I'd sail off here and try it, and it never did work for me, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. I couldn't get that combination right. And I mean, I got 3 brothers. I got 1 older and 2 younger. And I got 1 younger brother that just seems to have it together, and I would watch him and I would try to do what he did, and God, I got miserable. He was so dull and so boring. You know, it just makes me shiver. And but you know, I tried to live my life the way he did, and it just didn't work for me. You know, and the big book talks about that we just not like other people, and never will be. You know, I thought I just wasn't like other people when I was drinking. Get sober, you'll find out you're not like other people either. So here I am in this treatment center, and this lady telling me, you know, she said, why don't you just do what we ask you to do and see how it works? I said, okay, I will. You know, because I'm scared now. I'm going to prison, I know. So what have I got to lose? I mean, I've played the game before. I can do anything for like 30 days, you know. I've been married a couple of times like that. You know, you can do it for 30 days, and then when it gets old, you just leave, right? So I could do that. And so I'm in this treatment center, and I'm playing the game, but I'm really trying to do what they asked me to do. And I've done an inventory for the first time in my life, because you see, all my problems were of other people's makings, never of my own. I just knew that I would be all right if my dad had raised me, you know. I knew that I would be all right if I hadn't lived with that mean old man. I knew that I would be all right if those girls just didn't find out about that guy, you know. I knew that I would be all right if I had more weight. I knew that I would be all right if I was shorter, taller, fatter. But, you know, you can fill in the blank. You know, I was always going to be all right when. And it never worked for me. So while I'm in this treatment center, I get to look at that. And I found out that, I found out a lot of things in that treatment center. I found out that I had put my oldest brother in God's spot, and that I had tried a bazillion different things trying to make him love me. And I never thought that I had that love or that appreciation. And in my drinking, I really squished it because I was down on the streets in New Orleans working for a living. And he come down there and he found me, and he just disowned me right there on the spot. And that was one of those days you don't ever want to relive again, because you just see the look in their eyes, and you know it's done, it's over. And those family get-togethers were like hell on earth. I mean, I would always drink a little bit so I could get up enough courage to go, but you always hope you didn't drink too much so you could go. Because if you overshoot the mark, you can't go. Because he would still be right about all that. And I remember, even in all the drinks that I had, it never could get. He could sit in a room with me and look at me and never see me, just look through me like I was a piece of glass. I had done that to him. I know the life that I was living was not what a brother wanted for a sister, because I was the only girl in the family. I think at one time I was, your family has hopes and dreams for you. And slowly but surely I'd squashed all of them, and they had hated being around me. They hated to see me coming, because I was always some sad tale of woes, and it was just hard. I was painful. I remember one day I got beat up, or me and this guy I was living with, we got in a fight and I lost, right? So when I lose my fights, I don't know about y'all, but I'd go home to Mama, because I'll show him. And I looked like a piece of hamburger meat. He beat the crap out of me. And in this inventory, I found out that I had a part in that. Now, I know today that, I'm not trying to say that he hitting me was right or anything, but I probably think that if I'd have sat down and shut up when he told me to, I probably wouldn't have got hit so much, But you get me drunk and liquored up, I'm bad. And I'm laying on the flat of my back. I'm bad. Come on, I can't even get up. But I'm bad. I'm stupid at that point, but, and that's some of the stuff that I had to look at, because I always thought he was just mean, and I found out that I caused a lot of that. I'm a touchy-feely kind of girl, and you get me drinking, and I'm really a touchy-feely kind of girl, and I don't care who's watching, boyfriend, it don't matter, join in, we don't care, some people are not up for that, Well, he happened to be one of those closed-minded people, and so it got me in trouble. But see, I always thought it was his part. I didn't know that I played a part in that. And this may be a little too honest for you guys, but y'all tell me to be honest and tell you in a general way what I used to be like and what happened and what I'm like now, and this is a general way. So, but I've also had an old timer tell me that, you don't want to get so damn good that an alcoholic can't relate to your experiences. So, there's a fine line from that, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but I just thought when I was living with that guy, I really had it together. He built a bar for me. So, today I know it's kind of like a cage for an animal, I was so impressed. God. Oh, man. I'm telling you, I thought I had it together, and I definitely didn't have it together. But anyway, I'm still in this treatment center, and we're still looking at the part in these relationships that I played. And got ready to get out of that treatment center, and they said, well, you can't go home yet. We want you to go to Halfway House. That's fine. I'll go. But the one they wanted to send me in just had all girls in it. Now, wait a minute. I got a problem with that. Now, I've never been around a big pack of women. What do you do with them, right? I didn't know. I had been around, there's 3 brothers in my family. We lived beside a family of 7 boys on one side. On the other side, there was 5 boys. I think I had a girl neighbor when I turned like 12, so I don't know what you do with girls. But now they want me to go live with them. And I was not excited about that. Because my mama done told me about y'all. Y'all, that's the only thing I got to go on is what my mama said. And she said that them women will take your husband, because she's had a couple go missing, and they're not to be trusted, and I believe that, so here I am, got to go live with these women, and I'm not excited about it, but I got to get my job back, so I'm willing to do the deal. And so here we go off to a halfway house, and I got my little sack pack, and I'm scared, I'm really scared, because I don't know what to do with a bunch of women, and there's rules in this halfway house, and one of them you got to wear all your clothes, and I didn't even own some of the clothes they wanted me to wear, They kept getting in the way. I mean, they get hung up under the seat belt. Under the seat, that lever where you let the seat back and forth. Well, they get all knotted up in there, and hell, you just forget them, and it wasn't worth, or you get them out and they'll be all ripped up or greasy or whatever, and then I get drunk getting the floorboard trying to get it out and get tickled and couldn't get up, and or then you just forget them, and then she'd find them, and they couldn't come out and play no more. So I just quit wearing all that crap because it got in the way. But here I am, I got to get it again. So I'm in this halfway house, and we got to go shopping. And at this facility, they wanted you to travel in groups. So here I am, this big old bunch of women, and here we go to the store. Now, every time I think about me in front of y'all tonight, I'm looking pretty good. I got on all my clothes. Oh gosh. But it's just like AA, when you don't know, and I let that pride and that ego down enough and say, you know what, I don't know how to do this, will you help me? Y'all always come there and y'all always help me. And you don't laugh at me that day. We may laugh our butts off the next day about it, but that day you don't. You say, sure, come on. And that's what I did with those women. I confessed, in AA there was a lot of confessions. So I confessed that I didn't know about what size underwear I wore. And those ladies, they just shoved me in a dressing room, and here they come. There are hauling drawers across the store so I can try them on. So anytime I get up in front, I don't ever want to forget where I come from. Because they say if you do, you'll go back. And today I know what size underwear I wear. And that's because I just let that pride and that ego down, and y'all showed me. Y'all showed me how to do that. And that's one small thing that you have showed me how to do on this walk of life that I've known since I've been sober. You've shown me how to hold a job. You show me how to go to court for getting arrested and everything, and be willing to take the consequences of my actions. Because I know I'm going to prison. I know it hands down. And and there's a couple of people in the courtroom with me that day, and I'm standing there and I'm got to wear a skirt to court. That's what the lawyer said. I wear a dress. Well, I didn't own a dress, and I got a skirt in the closet. Down south, everybody had something they buried people in, right? So I got this dress, this skirt, okay? But I probably got it at like the Goodwill or whatever, and there's no tags in it. So I don't know where the zipper goes. So I call this, at that time, I'm sponsored by an AA guy and an Al-Anon lady, okay? Because when I got out of treatment, I went to a real small town. You could probably fit it in this building. But there wasn't a lot of women staying sober, so the AA man kind of has sponsored me in AA, and then the Al-Anon woman sponsored me in those women things, right? So I called her about the skirt, but she wasn't home. He said, oh, hell, Sandy, just put the zipper in the front like we do. So here I go. I put that zipper in the front, and here I go to court. Now, I can't imagine what a sight I was. I'm almost scared to think about it. But, and I'm up there in front of that judge, and y'all have, through inventory, I realized that I did play a part in getting arrested. I had illegal drugs. And y'all have taught me in AA, that I had to be willing to take responsibility for my actions. So I'm up there, and I'm willing to go to jail if necessary. I don't want to go. Don't even believe that, but I'm willing. And that judge gave me first offender's probation. Now, I didn't even know what that was. And so the lawyer had to explain it to me and all that kind of stuff. And I walked away, and I didn't have to go to prison. That was one of the most powerful examples of God watching out for me that I had experienced to date in my sobriety. Another thing, I was living I was living by myself, but at that phase of my development, there wasn't always a guy in the background. You probably didn't see him because he didn't get out much because he was old, but he had money. And I was always about the money because I knew if I had enough money, I would be all right. So one of the things in this halfway house, y'all told me that if I kept selling myself, I would not be able to stay sober, because you just can't do it. That self-esteem and that pride and that one time knowing way down deep where I live that I really was doing the deal. I really am doing the right thing. I really am trying to live not the right way, but the right way for me. And I was getting a little taste of that, and it felt so good. And then I had to write this dear old guy letter, because he sent me $100. And now picture this. I'm going to prison. This is before I found out I wasn't. I don't have a job because you can't work being arrested like I was. They fire you. And I don't have a college degree or any of that kind of stuff. I quit school when I was like 12, 13 something. I don't know. I was big enough when they quit letting me go. And here I am letting Money Man go. And it was a hard decision for me. But you told me, the counselor told me, she said, Sandy, if you keep trusting man and don't trust God, you're going to wind up in a hell of a mess. Because man will let you down and God won't. But it was spooky. But I wrote the dear old guy letter, and I didn't have anybody there to fall back on, any money to fall back on. And I walked out of that courtroom, and you know what? I didn't need that old guy's money. I didn't have to go to prison. I didn't have to pay some hotshot lawyer, because I was really trying to do the right thing for the first time in my life. And something heard that. Something saw the effort in me, and I walked out of that courtroom on first offender's probation. The probation officer saw me get sober, saw me get married again. Well, but he didn't know about the first times, but when I got sober, okay, we go to the meetings and everything, and the meetings are real small, and we did meetings that you would get in the car, and then you would drive to a meeting, because you had to drive like 25 miles, something like that. So we'd have the meeting going, we'd have the meeting there, and we'd have the meeting coming home. And whoever had the biggest car is a driver, because, we would just pack out the whole town. All 7 of us would get in the car, and that's how we do. And we traveled all over the southeast of Georgia, and we'd go to meetings, and that's just what we did, because there wasn't a meeting every day of the week or every minute of the day and all that kind of stuff. So me and one of the guys, we'd go to the meeting, then we'd get home, we'd put on a pot of coffee, and we'd stay up all night talking about God and spiritual things, and we'd just wait and float off or something, It was wonderful. I truly believe that everybody that come into AA did the AA deal and was honest and really tried and wanted to get sober. And, I was on fire with that, I had been introduced to the big book and, all of that, the steps and all that. It was neat because there was a group of us doing the deal. And we hung together like ducks, You see one, you'd see all of us. It was amazing. But me and this guy, one particular guy, we started, going to meetings together, and we started winking and blinking at each other. And then he asked me out on a date. Now a date, what's that? I don't think I'd ever been on a date. I had dates, but I don't think we were talking about the same thing. But I'm trying to keep it general. So anyway, I had asked this Al-Anon lady what an AA date was, and she said, well, he'll come get you and he'll carry you out to dinner either before or after the meeting. Y'all will go to the meeting, and then he'll bring you home and he'll leave. I didn't see the point of the date. So here we go. We went on this date. We went on this AA date, and we AA dated for like 4 months, and I'm in the garden with this Al-Anon lady, and I'm not quite getting it, because he ain't grabbing, touching nothing that ain't his. Now, I'm sober. I'm put on a little weight. I think I'm looking all good and all that kind of stuff, and I'm wondering what's wrong with him. Because I don't get it. I don't get it. So this Al-Anon lady, we're in her garden. She was a gardener and stuff, and we're digging potatoes, and I'm slinging dirt everywhere, because I am pissed. Because after all, I think I'm looking pretty good, and what's wrong with him? And, do I need to do something a little bit different, little sachet here, a sachet there, and that Al-Anon lady, I know, she did not laugh at my face, but I know she's about to bust a gut. Because I know that's the way I do with the girls I sponsor, with some of their stuff they come up with. And I'm talking to her, what's wrong with me? How come he ain't, what's wrong with me? He ain't tried to grab nothing or any of that. And she said, well, honey, maybe he's showing you respect. Well, respect, that's when they've been with you that night and then they come back the next day. That's what I know about respect, Y'all have done miracles, I promise you. But that Al-Anon lady taught me that, That Al-Anon lady taught me what women did in the daytime. She taught me about, matching up my clothes and trying to get myself together like that. I don't know where I'd be without her. But we did that AA dating thing, and this guy finally asked me to marry him, and I couldn't believe it. Because I was out there on them streets a long time, and he knew that. I mean, he didn't know details, but, he got the general idea, and he still wanted to marry me, and I couldn't believe it. And we set a date and all that kind of stuff. And I found my wedding dress for $12. And the Al-Anon lady took our $50. And, they done our reception and all that kind of stuff. And it was just unbelievable, the people that showed up. Because we were like the AA couple. We come in and we got sober and we're doing it right. And we're going to walk off in the sunset. And we did, but we burned up. We were married about 5 years, and I'm going to tell you that was, I knew going down the aisle I shouldn't be going down the aisle, okay? But I know God's going to change me, right? I just know He is, and He's going to make me believe some things that's going to make this all right with me inside where I live. Now, I couldn't have said that out loud to you that day, but I knew as I look back and as I've inventoried it and looked at my part and all that other kind of stuff, that's what I've come to. And so, I get to go to this conference, and me and this guy, we're having some trouble in our marriage, and it's not the fighting kind of trouble. It's the kind of trouble where, we'll drive up to the AA meeting, put on them smiles, grab hands, walk in, and we're still AA couple, You can't disappoint anybody. And then we go home and we snatch them hands down, and there's a line drawn down the middle of our house, and there's silence, and I'm not being honest in that relationship. And I go to this conference, and a gentleman pays me some attention, a lot of attention, and I sleep with him, and because that's what I do at that phase of my development anyway. And I come home and I ask for a divorce, and it was a hard time because everybody in that group took sides. Because I was the whore in the meeting. I'm 5 years sober, and I'm the whore in the meeting, and nobody likes me, and after all I've done to him, and all this kind of stuff. And it was just a bad time. And 5 years sober, and I'm sitting on the side of my bed, and I can't go to AA anymore, because y'all hate me, and I don't know what to do. So I pull the pistol out, and I'm looking at eating this gun, and I pick up the phone and I call this old guy who has been on my list, because this guy was the one that really pissed you off. When I come into the meetings, when I come out of treatment, I was an alcoholic and an addict. Okay, and I'd get in the meetings and hear this guy, I'd introduce myself that way, and he'd scream about his hemorrhoids. And I'm going, what does that got to do with anything? He said, that's right. And I'd walk off pissed off, because I didn't get it, I thought he was just picking on me because I'd heard tales about this dirty old man, and, he just always piss you off. He was one of those, He would always tell you the truth whether you wanted to hear it or not, and he just really made me mad, and I had just been talking bad about him a long time. If you give me 5 minutes, I'd tell you what a SOB was and what he did to the group and how he run newcomers off and all that other kind of stuff, and he come across my mind that day. And I picked up the phone and I called him, and he didn't even recognize my voice. I was in just one of those really bad places, and he told me to get in the car. He didn't say, honey, don't call me because all you said about me. He didn't say, B, don't ever call me again. He said, get in the car. And I got in the car, and when I got to his house, he was standing at the door, and he just opened up his arms, and I just fell in them. That is Alcoholics Anonymous. That is one alcoholic helping a suffering alcoholic. That is Principles Before Personalities. That is everything that this program talks about and stands on. And I was in a bad way, and this man wouldn't let me talk bad about that guy, soon-to-be ex-husband. He said I could talk to him and one other person about him, and that was it. And when people ask me about him, direct them to him, Or how's Lloyd doing? Well, go call him, see how he's doing, Well, everybody wanted to know how he was doing. They'd always ask me, and I'd want to say, who the fuck cares, but because I certainly didn't, at that point. That was probably loud, wasn't it? But that's honest, okay? That's just honest, but I'm trying to clean up my mouth, and sorry about that. But anyway, he put me in his back pocket, and he was taping around the Southeast, and, I heard people talk about getting divorces in AA, and how they put principles before personalities, and how they done the principled actions no matter what they thought about it, and how hard a walk that was. And I started doing those things. I'm sitting at a district meeting because I'm district secretary at that time, and in he comes. Going, gosh, can't you find a different district? Oh, because we were small. There wasn't any. Here he come. A hush fell over the room. They were just waiting to see the fight, and I got up out of my chair and I walked across the room. I walked across the room and stuck out my hand, and I told him I was glad he was there. And after that, everybody started talking, and there just wasn't any big deal. I hate me having to walk across the room. I want them to come to me. I want them to come to me bleeding. They don't do that. They don't do that. It's about me acting principled, and I don't like that. I like the results of that, but when I'm in the middle of that walk and I'm cussing every breath, I'm going, geez, how come he couldn't, how come he couldn't done it? I get the results of that action, and I'm grateful I was able to do that, because he worked with a lot of people. He saved a lot of, he spent a lot of time working with drunks, and I didn't want the judgment that I got passed on to other people, and we got through that, and I got through that sober. And the old guy told me, he said, Sandy, there's some bottoms in sobriety. Newcomers, shut your ears. You might not want to hear this. There's bottoms in sobriety. There's the one that's going to bring you here, and then there's the one that's going to keep you here. And I think at that phase of my development, I had hit the one that was going to keep me here, because I became willing to take that action. About this same time, I'm looking for a woman to sponsor me, and I'm asking a lot of people, and my reputation precedes me, and a lot of people are telling me no, and I get this CD with this lady, and she says that she knew she was in a time in her sobriety where she had to either get in AA or get out, and I knew I was there. So I tried to get her phone number from the taper, and because she said her first and last name from the podium, and I'm forever grateful, because I was able to track her down because of that. And over the phone, I asked her if she'd be my sponsor, and she said, well, let me ask you some questions. How many meetings a week are you going to? I'm going to one. Oh, that's going to change, she said. But I couldn't tell her I couldn't go to those other meetings, because that's where those butts were that done that judgment thing. And I couldn't tell her I couldn't go to this other one, because I got up in the middle of the meeting. I cussed them all out because they were doing that judgment thing, and told them what I thought about them, and and all that kind of stuff. And she said, well, you're going to start calling me once a week at a time convenient to me. I'm thinking to myself, convenient to you? You're my sponsor. I'm supposed to be able to call you 24/7. What do you mean convenient to you? Now, out loud to her, I said, yes, ma'am. She said, we're going to start going through the big book. And in my head, I'm going, I have been in a big book meeting ever since I've been sober. I am a big book thumper original. I don't need to go through that book again. But out loud to her, I said, yes, ma'am. She said, we're going to go through the traditions and the concepts. I'm thinking them concepts are for them lawyers in AA. I don't need them concepts. But of course, out loud to her, I said, yes, ma'am. She said, you're going to start wearing a dress to your home group meeting. I go to AA and I'm comfortable. What are you talking about, a dress? They're going to think somebody died in my neck of the woods. I go in a dress. That's the only time people wore dresses, when people died. You went to funerals. Out loud to her, I said, yes, ma'am. And we started that, and that lady sponsored me 1.5 years before she ever met me. She didn't care about all the other stuff that I had done. I had to get honest with her about it, and I was able to do that. We were talking about before the meeting and everything. about, what is that gift that we have that keep us here? I think it's a gift of desperation. I am just as desperate today to do anything to keep my butt sober as I was today. I'm probably more desperate today because I've got a whole lot more to lose. But that lady sponsored me a year and a half. We done a 3rd step over the phone. I'm praying on my knees over the phone. I done my 4th step. We done 5th step over the phone. The phone company's not listening in. I had some fear about that. And she went over my amends with me, and she was speaking on the southeast, and she drove from Atlanta, Georgia, 3 hours to see me, to meet me. She drove. I don't think I'd ever had anybody go to that length to meet me before, and I was so impressed and so touched. The guy I was living with at the time, we went through the house like the Queen was coming. I'm on my head in the closet, and Wendell taps me on the back. He says, "Honey, I don't think she's going to be looking there." But she settled me down a lot. She was the one that told me to respect AA from the podium and not to cuss, and I really screwed that one up tonight. But she's the one that told me that she just settled me down because I'd been sponsored by this rough, gruff AA guy, and you didn't want the big book, so I'd beat you in the head with it. I was brutally honest, and that lady really toned me down. And as a result of that, some women started becoming attracted to the message I was carrying, And I got the sickest babe out of the bush. I ain't kidding you. This lady found out she was brilliant in the nut ward. Okay. Yeah, that's what I did. Not to her face, but I'm going, oh my God. But this lady started to change. We started doing the deal, what was done for me, and her life started to change. And today when I can't see God working in my life, I can see Him working in the life of the girls I sponsor. I can see Him taking the actions and things happening. And I know He just forgot about me because He's busy with them. And that's not true. He has given me the gift of life through them. And I just think that's awesome. This guy that I was living with, there's a couple of more marriages in there. One time I got married because I needed kids. I found out that was a lie. The principles of Alcoholics Anonymous helped me go out of that marriage, not on another man's arm, and I'm grateful for that. And then a nosy neighbor introduced me to this nice guy who needed me, and we started becoming friends, and and I'm 10 years sober at this time, and I know that if I don't do something different, I'm going to have the same thing, the same results of the same actions. So, I told this guy, I got to do some work on me. I don't want to date you anymore, don't want to see you anymore, don't know how long this is going to take, but I'm going to do some work on me. And one morning I woke up and I knew that I knew, and he called me that day. And on that day, we started seeing each other again, and then we got married. We moved in together because I do not do marriage, okay? And all the writing that I did, what I found out is I'm a selfish, self-centered person. I'm a kick and screaming 2-year-old. I want everything my way. I want it now, and I don't want to share nothing. Now, that is not basis of a healthy relationship or a partnership. That is just that. And that was the way I lived my life. And I asked God to take me to a different basis on relationships. And I think He's done that. Wendell asked me to marry him, and I told him I'd marry him one day at a time. Because I can be a kind, loving, faithful wife one day. Not marrying him forever. I've been married forever 3 times. I am not doing that again. But today, I can be a kind, loving wife. Today, I can be a caring wife. If I'm not kind and loving. Today I can do that. Now, he's straight out of the Southern Baptist Church, deacon, and when I looked at him and told him I'd marry him one day at a time, he was a little bit shocked. Because, forever and always and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going there. And I told him that AA come first. And that was non-negotiable. And I didn't say it with a smart aleck attitude, because I've done that. AA comes first, as I cut your legs out from under you, It wasn't, I didn't go in with that kind of attitude, It was, this is my life. Period. I cannot do life with you without this first. And he said, okay. Now, that little statement, neither one of us realized the length we would go with that. I mean, he's been home a lot of times by himself because AA's first. I mean, he's been down in the TV room when I'm doing fifth steps upstairs. I mean, he's been upstairs when I've been down in the TV room, working with women. And, I mean, he's been home by himself in the middle of the night and I'm going to jail, trying to get somebody out or whatever, And, but he's the kind of guy that I always run from. He's nice. I mean, if they're beating the crap out of me and taking my money and don't have a job, don't have a car, come to me. This guy had a job, had a house. I mean, went to work every day. I mean, wouldn't hit a woman if his life depended on it. And I'm wanting to run from that. Y'all, I have a disease of perception. And I have enjoyed the fruits of that, He treats me like a lady. And y'all have shown me how to be that lady. And that's what I love about Alcoholics Anonymous. Even though I don't believe it in me, I know that if I take the right actions, I'll start to believe it. And then people treat me different. And, he drove me down tonight and, he's just a neat guy. And he's probably over there embarrassed because I'm talking about him like that. But, he got laid off from work. I got like 3 more stories and I'll be done. Really, only 3. He got laid off from work. We put his resume on Monster.com, and a place in Idaho picked him up. Iowa, Idaho, where are we going? I didn't know. I'd never seen so much snow in all my life. I love it. And it's kind of like, God just opened up the fairy tale book, throwed us in it, and said, y'all just have a good time. Because that's what we've been doing. That's what we've been doing. My mother got sick. Story number 2. My mother got sick, and why don't you come live with us? And she's going, Because I hadn't lived with my mother since I've been 13, and what she lived with was like a little hellion, right? She did not know a sober me. She had seen glimpses and all that kind of stuff, and as a result of my amends and stuff, she wanted to see me happy, so I never called her when I wasn't happy. She always got that. So she got to thinking about it, and she sold her little house and come out and moved in with me and my husband. And I'm going to tell you, I had the privilege of being a kind, loving daughter to my mother. I had the privilege of her seeing y'all. She had the privilege of seeing all these girls in and out of the house and just a bunch. I mean, we got one of those drunk houses, coffee pots always on, in and out, phone calls, the whole 9 yards, and she loves it. Wendell had a stroke. She was able to teach him how to read. The very basic reading. She was able to do that for him. And when Wendell had a stroke, I had some surgery done, and the AA group brought a meeting to our house, and my mother was able to sit in on that. And she said she had never felt the love that y'all gave to us that night, ever, in all her days in church. And she come up in the church. You know how that goes. And she had never experienced anything like it. Y'all touched her, and she didn't know what happened. Last story. My mother died, and I was out of town. It was about this time 2 years ago. I was out of town working, and Wendell was home with her, and they called the EMTs, and he called the EMTs, and last thing out of her mouth was, "This is my son-in-law, and he takes good care of me." And that was the last thing she said. And we kept her alive long enough for me to get home and stuff, and then we unplugged everything, and, I was able just to sit there with her and pat on her hand and just love her. I didn't have to make amends. Mama, I wished I'd have done. Mama, I wished I hadn't have said. Mama, I wish. Wasn't any of that there, because y'all have given me an opportunity to be a sober member and a kind, loving daughter. And she had seen that. And I am forever grateful for that. And, our life is still pretty good. We've had some ups and downs, with the stroke and just trying to get all that stuff worked out, because people change when that happens. And I think we got it figured out. I'd always want to be with some other guy when the tough times got going. But when Wendell got sick, I didn't want to be anywhere else. And for that was a spiritual experience for me. Now, I don't know about you guys. I wasn't looking for something else to take me away and make it all right. I wanted to sit right there beside him and us walk through it together. And that is growing up in AA. The AA in Pocatello, Idaho is wonderful. You know, y'all have given me a chance to just pass on the message. You know, the message that's here, I love coming here, you know, because an AA group, you know, the traditions and the concepts and in a general way, what we used to be like, that's what it's about. It's about one alcoholic reaching out and touching another. And I am forever grateful for an opportunity, and happy anniversary. Thank you.